you have to be led by a clue. If your clue is around feelings, right, more confident, being more able to do something, you're going to have to use something that's more of a benchmark for that, precisely because you can't measure it. So if it's quantitative, then you can usually use something like SMART. If it's qualitative, about something that you'd really like to be or feel better about, then you want a benchmark. Something that is big picture, aspirational, is almost a mixture of both.
The question is, from Thinking Focus.
Okay, the question is, what's the best tool to use for writing a goal?
Hi, I'm Rob Smith from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Richard from Thinking Focus.
The question is, from Thinking Focus, a podcast about how our thinking impacts our results and what we can do about it.
And it's interesting because it depends on what you want to use the goal for, what the goal is about. So,
what do you want to achieve?
What you want to achieve. Is it a big picture stuff? Is it aspirational? Is it something quite precise, quite specific?
Okay, so give us an example then. So if you go, is it something quite precise? What do you mean by that?
If I wanted to achieve something that was easily measurable in a short, specific period of time, then I could be quite detailed and quite specific about that.
Okay.
So SMART, a lot of people are familiar with SMART. It's an acronym. We can use it to remind ourselves to go, I need something that's short, specific, measurable. Can I achieve it?
So SMART's really good for easily measurable stuff. Things like something that's got a cost related to it.
Absolutely. Something that you can measure by quantity. You know, is it something that's going up, going down? Can you count it? You know, SMART is really good for that. Really precise.
And a time one as well. So I will achieve something in a certain time or whatever that might be. So really good for that then. That type of thing. But you mentioned some other types of...
We've got other goals, haven't you? So you've got aspirational goals. You've got things that I want to achieve this in my life. Or I would really like to be in this place by that period of time. You know, so holidays,
Can SMART be used for some of those then?
The elements of them. So there could be something that I have as an aspirational goal, which I might want to actually measure parts of that towards the progress of the overall thing. But actually...
Okay, so SMART might work for parts of it.
But
the overall thing, so if it's something aspirational, which is, I don't know, before I retire, I would like to, I don't know, run my own business or something.
Okay, that's quite aspirational.
So how do I start with that then?
Well, part of that is you sort of thinking about, so where am I now? You know, so you mentioned when I retire. So part of that also makes an assumption about, do you know when you're going to retire? So there's some questions attached to that to think about, where am I now? Where would I like to be by when?
So could you use a chunking tool to help you there then? So you could start to break that down into different chunks of things, because you made a really good point there that so when would I like that retirement to be, and at what different stage would I make the leap from, you know, what I'm doing now to running my own company or that kind of stuff. Because
I might be sitting here going, I'm 15 years away from retirement in my mind. You might be talking to somebody who actually might be 5 years away from retirement, and the way that you're going to actually look at how to measure that goal and what sort of level of detail you want to look at in that is going to be pretty different.
So I could use a chunking tool which starts to chunk down different aspects. So if you looked at, I want to run my own company, you then start to chunk back from, okay, when? And what are all the elements that might be needed, I might need to have in place in order to get there? And those chunks then, I guess from what you were saying before, I could make them quite smart. Once I'd got down to a bit more detail.
Exactly. You could sort of go, I've got things that I have to achieve in the first 12 months of. I've got things that I need to do in the first 3 months of that first 12 months. And SMART is going to come into being, you know, and be far more useful for those shorter term goals. And you could almost say that an aspirational goal, something that's bigger picture, is just a collection of a whole bunch of SMART goals.
That add up to the bigger thing.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned something else as well. So what about, SMART's great for stuff that's easy to measure, being precise, you said. So what if it's something that's harder to measure?
So things like a feeling or something like a motivation or something that gets you up, you know, gets you doing something.
So if I want to feel...
You want to be more confident about something.
What if I want to be more confident when I'm, I don't know, I'm speaking to the board of directors?
How are you going to measure that? You're not going to be able to put a number against that really easily because it's not something that is cost or quantity, as we talked about before. So it's about a feeling.
So we need a different type of goal
So
then.
we can use benchmarking for that. that.
Okay.
And the benchmarking, again, has an element to it, which is, do you have an idea about what that might feel like when you are confident, as opposed to what it might feel like now?
Okay. So the benchmark is benchmark where do you want to be?
Yes.
And benchmark where you are now.
Where you are currently.
And then it's about closing the gap.
Yes.
Okay.
And part of that benchmarking sometimes is quite useful to compare.
Here's a question there, another question. The question is, how do I know the difference? So we talked about 3 tools here. So one's SMART. Yeah. Stuff, precise stuff. Then you've got this chunking thing. Chunk it down, aspiration thing. And then you've talked about a benchmarking goal. Mm-hmm. So how do I know which one to use?
Well, that's the trick. There's a rule of thumb.
Or how to combine them.
Well, the rule of thumb for me is that if it's easily measurable, if you can be precise and specific in your language, then usually SMART is going to be okay for you.
Yeah.
If it's something that you have to be led by a clue, if your clue is around feelings, right, more confident, being more able to do something, you're going to have to use something that's more of a benchmark for that, precisely because you can't measure it.
Yeah.
So if it's quantitative, right, then you can usually use something like SMART.
Yeah.
If it's qualitative, about something that you'd really like to be or feel better about, then you want a benchmark.
Yeah.
Something that is big picture aspirational is almost a mixture of both, because you could have something that is actually quite big to aim for, but all you're really doing is chunking.
With the big picture stuff, the aspirational stuff, I imagine it's quite useful to almost do that. Shut your eyes, imagine the future, and visualize it.
Yes.
Really get into that space when you see that time in the future and what's happening and where are you and what does it look like and feel like. Is that what?
Yeah, definitely. And because part of that is you're sort of doing a little bit of sensory deprivation to use your imagination. So if you did, as you just
sensory
suggested,
deprivation.
Well,
I'm going to write that down. You
just said shut your eyes, so I just shut my eyes.
Yeah.
And if you do shut your eyes, then that means that you've got other senses that you've got to draw on.
Yeah.
And part of that is your imagination. And the real thing about that is, how excited are you about running your business before you retire? And it's not until you start thinking about the elements of that and why that might be so inspirational to you or motivational for you that you get excited about it.
Because we find that, don't we, sometimes when we work with people and we get them to imagine the future and really go and visit the future, that it can stir the motivation and the excitement and those feelings.
Sure. And if somebody, if you look at SMART again for that, if somebody sort of mechanically says to you, I will do this by this date, and there's no passion or excitement or any sort of inspirational messaging coming from that, you go, really?
Yeah.
So the goal itself is a mechanism, but the way that you describe the goal enables you to have greater clarity about whether or not you buy into that goal or not.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's not just about being able to go, can I describe it and can I measure it? It's also about, do I feel it? Do I want it?
Yeah. Does it make me feel excited?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, those are the elements, I think, that we need to consider thinking about goals.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next time on The Question Is.
Many people in our jobs, we've had it where you've been given a goal and often you're encouraged to write it as a SMART goal and you might not actually feel that excited about it. But the relevance is, well, actually it's part of my job.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organisation, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.